Welcome to That's Good Sports. I am Brandon, not Brandon Marshall-Perna. And yes, former Giants wide receiver, former Jets wide receiver, former Bears wide receiver, former Dolphins wide receiver, and former Broncos wide receiver Brandon Marshall signed a one-year contract to become a current Seattle Seahawks wide receiver. This, in my humble football opinion, continues the narrative that the NFC West will be one of the most interesting divisions to watch in 2018. Just this week on ThatsGoodSports.com, Will Keys wrote an article about Dez Bryant revealing via Instagram that he wanted to sign with the 49ers. And now I hope that Dez does, because if that happens, the NFC West will become the battle of all the old wide receivers. That's Good Sports. I do have Big Dick Patreon shout-outs for Colin House is in the house, Liam Hannon, Daniel Pettinger, and Matthew Capel. Thank you guys so much. Look, Patreon is how I make a living. So if you want to support this channel, consider making a monthly donation, patreon.com/thatsgoodsports. I do offer a bi-weekly podcast there where I answer all and only Patreon questions. No bullshit, just good answers. Some bullshit. So if Dez follows Brandon Marshall's lead and signs in the NFC West, the two aging receivers, Bryant and Marshall, will be playing with good, very good young QBs in Jimmy Garoppolo and Russell Wilson, which means both of those receivers' play will improve for the season. What's weird is I look at Marshall and Bryant as similar receivers in similar situations, even though Dez Bryant is 5 years younger than Marshall. I say that because I believe if Marshall is healthy, he's still as athletically gifted as a 29-year-old Dez Bryant. Marshall is an athletic freak. I have seen him in person, and he looks like Apollo Creed fucked Randy Johnson. No, I'm not saying he looks like their love child. I'm saying he is tall and strong with tremendous athletic gifts, which you can only visualize if you imagine Apollo Creed and Randy Johnson intertwining their bodies until they become one. Yep. Brandon Marshall. Again, Dez to San Francisco is speculation, so that probably won't happen. But the odd old man receiver out in the NFC West would be Larry Fitzgerald, who will be praying to the football gods that Josh Rosen is the best rookie in the league, or that Sam Bradford now has adamantium in his bones like Wolverine. Fitzgerald and Marshall are the same age, which is why I believe Marshall might have a big year in Seattle. I'm not saying Marsh is as good as Fitz, because Fitz, in my opinion, is one of the best receivers to ever play the game. I mean, he's put up 109, 107, and 109 catch seasons over the last 3 years. And the last year, he did it with Drew Stanton and Blaine Gabbert throwing him the football. My point, old wide receivers are great assets when their bodies allow them to play for a full season. In terms of Marshall signing with the Seahawks, I think this is a win-win situation. It's a one-year deal, so there's little risk for Seattle. Playing with Russell Wilson is a luxury for a wide receiver, and assuming Marshall doesn't get injured like he and every other Giants receiver did in 2017, he should be productive in that offense as a third or second target for Wilson, especially in the red zone. Just like Larry Fitzgerald, Brandon Marshall had 109 receptions, 1,500 yards, and 12 touchdowns in 2015 with Ryan fucking Fitzpatrick dishing him the rock. Now, I highly doubt he gets 1,000 yards or has a 100-plus catch season with the Seahawks, but with Tyler Lockett and Doug Baldwin being the only two ball catchers arguably better than him at this point, Marshall will have an opportunity to make an impact even at age 34. Russell Wilson will get him the ball, that is certain. What is not certain is that Marshall will even make the team, even after everything I just said about him. He has to stay healthy, and like every team, there are a ton of young receivers on the roster, any of which could beat him out for the job. Now, I'm keeping with the theme of wide receivers, and a bit of a surprise, the Packers wide receiver Davante Adams landed at number 45 on the NFL Top 100 list. A lot of football fans think this puts him up way too high on the list, but I disagree. In 2016, Adams had 75 catches with 12 touchdowns for 997 yards. Last season, with Aaron Rodgers only finishing 6 games, Adams had just 1 less catch at 74, 2 fewer TDs at 10, and 885 yards on the season. Had Rodgers stayed healthy, Adams would also probably be dating a race car driver. Probably Jimmy Johnson. Definitely not Michael Schumacher with that face. And if Rodgers was actually healthy, Adams probably would have had 120 catches, 1,500 receiving yards, and 15 touchdowns. I mean, he caught 5 touchdowns from Brett Hundley, a quarterback so good the Packers traded for DeShone Kizer to compete as the backup QB. DeShone Kizer threw 11 touchdowns to 22 interceptions in 2017, and the Packers were like, hey, we think this guy might be better than Brett Hundley. With the healthy Rodgers and a disgusting looking Jordy Nelson in a Raiders uniform, Davante Adams should be a top 10, maybe top 5 fantasy wide receiver in 2018. The good news for Aaron Rodgers is that the Packers added former Cowboys tackle Byron Bell to give depth to that offensive line. He can also play tackle. I feel like the Packers always have injuries on the line. So, Aaron Rodgers has a little padding there. Bad news is, though, he had to watch his girlfriend, Danica Patrick, finish her career on the racetrack by not finishing her final race. Which is how most boyfriend and girlfriend couples finish sex. The guy stands there, it's over for her, but she never really finished. So in conclusion, Aaron Rodgers is ready for 2018. Thanks for watching another episode of That's Good Sports. Please subscribe here on YouTube. Make sure you give me a follow on Twitter at Brandon Perna. And if you haven't checked out my website, ThatsGoodSports.com, please do. We're putting articles up there every week, multiple articles. My videos are there. It's a website. You know how the fucking internet works.